President Arthur surely had no idea who they were, where they came from, who they robbed, or who they killed. To the President, to Congress, and to the American public, they were a nameless, faceless band that appeared wraith-like from the high desert, plundering and murdering and vanishing as quickly as they came. And contrary to President Arthur's statement, the Cowboys had not been engaged for months in committing acts of lawlessness and brutality. They had been robbing and killing for years. The Cowboys' genesis lay in the savvy and the six-shooters of John Kinney, one of the most notorious outlaws of the American Southwest. He was a New Englander born to Irish parents in Hampshire County, Massachusetts, on May 4, 1847. When his father died, Kinney's mother moved with her 7 children to Chicago. There, John Kinney enlisted in the Army in 1868 and entered training as a cavalryman. The recruit, almost 21, was short and stocky, 5'5", 160 pounds, with a round, deceptively cherubic face. Assigned to the 3rd U.S. Cavalry, he served on various frontier posts, including Fort Selden in southern New Mexico. Kinney acquired deep knowledge of the isolated country and its Spanish-speaking people. Keenly intelligent and a natural leader, Kinney was promoted to sergeant. He mastered rifle, revolver, horses, and the Spanish language, and later claimed to have taken part in campaigns against the Apaches and Sioux. In 1871, at Fort Bowie, Arizona, he married 15-year-old Juana Provencio, whose family lived in Mesilla, New Mexico. Kinney was mustered out at Fort McPherson, Nebraska, in April 1873, and soon returned to New Mexico Territory. New Mexico in the 1870s was an isolated frontier. The only way to get there was by horseback, wagon, or stagecoach, for no railroad even approached its borders until 1878. The territory's entire population was only about 100,000, almost 90% Hispanic. Its government and economy were controlled by the notorious Santa Fe Ring, the territory's corrupt political machine. New Mexico's wealth was concentrated in a handful of merchants like James Dolan and Lawrence Murphy of Lincoln County, and cattle barons like John Chisholm of Pecos River Country. Although the discovery of silver mines led to the 1870 founding of Silver City in the mountains of southwest New Mexico, livestock raising was the principal occupation. Most of the territory's settlers, Anglo and Hispanic, eked out a precarious living tilling the soil and herding cattle. Roads were poor, travel slow, telegraph lines few, and communication difficult. With the exception of a few tough lawmen like Grant County's Sheriff Harvey Whitehill, New Mexico's law enforcement apparatus was largely inefficient, inept, and sometimes corrupt. Like most frontier regions, violence was commonplace due to an overabundance of young unmarried males, cheap whiskey and mezcal, and Colt revolvers and Winchester rifles, coupled with harsh competition for money, cattle, and unattached women. It was an environment that created and nurtured the rise of outlaw gangs, a fact that was not lost on John Kinney. Although his military discharge record held that he was a brave soldier, a sober and honest man, Kinney soon showed a darker side. In 1875, he established a cattle ranch on the Rio Grande, 3 miles north of Mesilla and 15 miles south of Fort Selden. He quickly took to the saddle with some very bad company. Jesse Evans, a 22-year-old Texas cowboy destined to become one of the Southwest's most notorious desperados. Jim McDaniels, once a foreman for cattle king John Chisholm, and Pony Deal, who would later achieve infamy as one of the Cowboys in Arizona. Deal, then aged 29, later claimed that his true name was Charles T. Ray and that he hailed from Rock Island, Illinois. Kinney's bunch with Jesse Evans